Even men at the top of their game find themselves wanting more from life. Whether it's more meaning, unshakable confidence, a bigger impact, more money, deeper love, a hotter sex life, or a powerful legacy. Find out how good your life can be on this episode of Man Alive. Also, did you know there's a skill many men never learn that ends up seriously limiting your professional success and satisfaction in your love and sex life? I put together a free guide to explain this unknown skill and give you exactly what you need to use it today. Get it by heading over to ShaynaJamesCoaching.com or text the word ALIVE, ALIVE, to 44144. That's 44144. You'll also get access to Man Alive outtakes, raw footage, and bonus videos you can only get there. Okay, this is an introduction to Man Alive, and I have John Thompson here with me of Circling Europe. And as I was about to record this introduction on my own, you asked if I wanted to do this with you, for you to ask me the questions of what this is about and why I created it. And it makes me nervous, but I also feel really excited to have some of these questions posed to me in a way that it draws out, what this is really about for me.
Can you speak a bit to that, what it's about?
Yeah, and there's a couple different layers of it, right? As you and I were talking, we were talking about the layers where, one layer is that every man, no matter, and every person really, right? But no matter what a man has accomplished in his life, there are often still places where there's either settling or tolerating or, a sense of, I can have it really great in one area and I should be okay. Like it would be selfish for me to want more, right? Like if I'm doing well in my career, then I should just settle for the fact that, all right, my love life or my sex life isn't going to be that amazing. I've got this other amazing thing in my life, or I'm making good enough money and, okay, I'm not going to have the impact I want to have on the world, or I'm going to set aside those dreams from when I was young. So there's that level of really recognizing that every man, no matter how much success he's had, that there's always more, and that actually in the past almost 20 years and thousands of people I've worked with, it's like, I keep seeing how much people don't even realize what's possible.
Right.
In life and love and intimacy. And so there's that layer. And then the other layer of having had last year, this mission in a way come into my heart. I don't even know how to say it. All I know is I was sitting in this workshop and somebody asked me what I was committed to, or asked all of us what we were committed to. And I sat there for a minute or so just feeling totally blank. Like, I don't know. I mean, I knew what I was up to in the world, but still that question, there was just like nothing there. And then suddenly from deep in my belly, I felt like I was almost about to throw up. And I said, I'm committed to reducing the rate of suicide for men, or ending suicide for men, or I don't know. And then I just started crying. And there was a part of me that was just like, whoa, that is so much bigger than anything I could imagine. Like, why did that just come through me? I mean, I'd already been working with men, so in some ways it made sense, but it was also like, oh, I knew there was something deeper that I wanted to be forwarding or impacting in the world. And suddenly there it was. And, at first my thought was like, well, that's impossible. There are so many reasons why men commit suicide, and there's no way to end suicide. And I then had this moment of realizing, oh, the way the workshop was set up that day was called Impossible Day. And it was all about how impossible goals are the ones actually worth forwarding or stepping into, or like, just because it's impossible doesn't mean that change can't happen. And so there's this other level on which, I feel so blessed and honored that I've gotten to work with so many men over the years, and I've been entrusted with their hearts and their vulnerability and their sadness and their grief and their anger and their longing. And right, where like I see so many men suffering alone and not having their hearts held in those most vulnerable places. And that's really what I want, is for men to be held and cared for and understood. And I think there's been a lot of attention lately on women, which I think is great, on equality and gender inclusivity. I think that's all important. But I also have this sense of not wanting to leave men behind. And feeling like that's happened over the past many decades. And there's this encouragement of like, men are strong and men are the rock, and, be a nice boy, and all these things that doesn't support men in their fullness of, their power, and power including vulnerability, and power including sexual desire, and power, and yeah, all of that.
How does it feel to have said all that? Does it feel like it's captured it fully?
Well, there's one level on which I think I feel nervous. So I feel slightly detached. Like, to when I really have moments, I felt at that moment where I was talking about that mission arising, where it's like, it's almost too much to feel. Yeah, it feels like a lot. And I think the vulnerable part about it too, which I don't know, it seems odd to one part of my mind, but that people would say like, well, who are you to do this? Or why are you doing this? Or like that people would be skeptical.
I'd like to explore that with you. Like, who are you to do this?
I feel touched by that. That you want to explore that somehow, to me is like, oh, you're not judging me. You're actually curious. Yeah, and there's one part of me that's like, who am I? Who is anyone to do anything? I don't know. As though I have to be someone to do this. And then there's another part of me that I've been thinking back to how when I was a little girl in elementary school, like I was the one, and all the way throughout high school, and I was the one who was friends with all the nerdy boys. And all the boys who like the girls wouldn't even look at or talk to. And they smelled funny, they looked funny, they were completely awkward. And these memories of these boys who I was just like, I don't know why, but I just cared about them. And they felt safe with me, and like I wasn't judging them, and I don't know, I didn't even know that language back then, but it was just like somehow I wanted them to feel good too. And I know that some of this also goes back to watching my mom and dad's dynamic, and where I never know how much to say about this, but just where I watched them struggle and not seem like they were happy or making each other happy, or like they even knew how to support each other. And where I watched my dad felt like he faded away and kind of lost himself. And there's some part of me that's like, oh God. He asked me the other day, like, how do I find your blogs? And I was like, I don't think you really think you need to. I don't ever really want you to see this. But then I always have this prayer, like, okay, Dad, if you do find this and you do watch this, like, I just hope that something good comes of it, that it awakens something in you or gives you something that you need and want.
So seems like there's a very genuine care and something from a early age, like in relation to working with men in some way, or being supportive of men.
Yeah.
But then thinking of your career as a coach, it's like you've got the insider scoop. It's like you've got a load of information about men that isn't normally shared. And you've seen transformation after transformation, so you kind of know what is possible for people. Yeah. They feel like two different things, but both kind of, you combine those two things and
yeah. And it's easy for me to forget how much I've seen, and it's like because it has become such a daily part of my life to watch people, and men especially, transform and open and express these raw and vulnerable parts, and then come out the other side feeling more alive and empowered. Sometimes I forget how rare that can be out in the world. Yeah, and I'm having these flashes of different men and different workshops I've facilitated and where I've coached, and, you know, one man in particular saying, like, I didn't even know where to turn, and I was considering suicide, and being here today and being with you women, especially, there were a group of us, right? It was like where he suddenly felt this new hope, or this new, like, life made more sense in some way. He felt more loved. And memories of men, like, you know, throwing up or just like expressing their rage or their terror of being turned on. And some part of me is like, wow, I've gotten to, like, I don't know, I feel so honored. And I also, there's something about being a bridge between men and women, where then I've gone to facilitate women's workshops, and where women have a lot of ideas of, like, men are pigs and men are objectifying and men aren't emotionally available, and all these ideas that I actually used to have too before I started working with men. And me getting to just cry and say, you know, in every man I've ever worked with, beyond whatever he's putting out on the surface, there is a vulnerable place inside him, where he wonders if he's good enough and if he's going to be loved by you and wanted by you and if he's going to succeed and all of that. And then I still go out in the world as a woman and see men and feel like awkward and uncomfortable and like, am I pretty enough? Are you going to want me? It's just, right? It's ironic and amusing.
I'm wondering what it is that you want to bring through these podcasts and through Man Alive. Like, what is it that you want to make available?
Oh, I love that question. When I first started doing the Authentic Man program, I remember we would come in as a group of women and sit in front of the men and say why we were there. And I was in my 20s and I felt, now I look back and I'm like, oh, I was so naive, or I was young. But I had these beautiful visions of like, wow, if men are loved and understood and supported in the ways I think they deserve to be, I see a world where men are showing up more in communities and in family and like able to, in their being full, right? Like full and appreciated and loved, that then they can also give back or be more involved with their children and be more involved with communities. And even I feel something in me about saying this because it's like this idealistic thing, but like I really see less war and less trying to have power over, And there is something that feels, maybe it's a little bit naive or innocent, but it also actually feels really true to me that if men are being loved and filled up in this way, that there's less of a need to go out. I don't know, maybe there's still a need to go out and conquer or do something, but that it can be done in more healthy ways. So I think my vision with this podcast is to have men know that there's somewhere to turn if they're struggling, that any, myself or any of you and these experts are resources and that they don't have to struggle alone. And then also to imagine another level of like how potent and rich life could be, how deeply connected and intimate relationships could be, and that there's healing and growth and hot sex and family. Yeah, that it can be profound. And I also have this vision I keep having, and I think this is cliche, but that a man or a woman again could lay on their deathbed and look back and be like, wow, that was amazing. I think of Stephen Levine or Stephen Levine, I don't know how to say his name, but the book A Year to Live has been really moving for me. It's like the realization of we don't know how long we have here. And where are we holding back or hiding or feeling ashamed? And how could we actually, instead of that, have more connection and aliveness and excitement and inspiration and impact?
Is there anything else that feels...
I was just reading an article this morning about that it's important to like ditch the self-critic and just keep moving forward with our goals and our visions. And Yeah, I think that's a part of it for me here too. Like I could judge anything and everything I just said and wonder if it actually came off in the way that I really mean it. But I think part of this for me is just letting that go and admitting that for whatever reason, and whether it's going to be debated later or not even make sense later, there's some kind of calling or some kind of mission in me to do this.
Yeah, it touches me.
Mm. Thank you.
It's so hard to get like passionate about a cause without victimizing people or becoming pretentious or so it's like I felt that was really good. Like there wasn't any pretentiousness. It was genuine and humble in a way. I like the combination of like Man Alive. It's like keeping more men alive, but it's about men's aliveness and health. It's like that they go hand in hand, and it's not just about keeping men alive. It's about the liberation that's possible for men.
Yes.
Like that feels real. Like there's a momentum and a movement and a kind of gradual realizing about that.
Yeah.
It feels like you're placed in the right place at the right time. And we don't know exactly how to liberate men and what that will mean. And it's like we don't have the solutions, but there are a lot of interesting things to talk about that can inspire.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you.
And that you've got a nice combination of an innocence of that's always been in you in relation to men that struggle, and then a natural appreciation for men's lives and the depths of it and what's possible for them. And that just feels sweet, those two things. Like, it's no like big deal. It's just pure and
right.
Go with it.
Yeah.
It's not a social justice warrior. It's just you've got something to offer.
Thank you. I'm so glad you joined us for today's episode of Man Alive. I hope it gives you a sense of what's possible and how good your life can be. If you like what you heard, I'd be so grateful for you to subscribe to Man Alive and write a quick review that helps men like you find us. And again, head over to ShaynaJamesCoaching.com/manalive to get outtakes, videos, and raw footage I only share there. These are some of the most interesting parts of these expert conversations. You can also grab your copy of The Unknown Power to accelerate your career and solidify your confidence with women, because the two are related, and I know you don't have to settle for one or the other. Join us each week for a new episode of Man Alive.